Okay, listen, I'm going to do a more in-depth review referring to various articles in the media from The Guardian and things like that, okay? But for now, I just want to do a quick summary of the Labour government as I see it. Now, the three criteria that I look at personally is what are they doing in terms of the economy? What are they doing in terms of other social issues that I care about, which is mainly benefits type things, is a front of mind. There are other things, but in terms of equality and equity and what kind of society we want to build in terms of benefits primarily and incentives to work. That's going to be controversial. I'll talk about that in a minute. And number three, our role in terms of justice throughout the world. Okay, so number one, the economy. What has come before? What deals around the world have we got of any note? And I'm not talking about that rubbish Australian deal, which basically opened up our markets to them just so they can drive our farmers out of business effectively and make it more unequal in their favour. So that's what came before. Now, what has Keir Starmer done, realistically? Do we have trade deals with our most important partners, otherwise known as Europe and America? Do we, yes or no? Yes, we do. Now, in terms of America, we've got the best end of a shitty deal. Okay, we've got the best conditions in the world, which is still a shitty deal, but it's not as bad as everybody else. Yes or no? So is that a massive tick for Keir Starmer, yes or no? Has to be a yes. We've got absolutely no movement on Europe until this situation came about with the Orange Man in January and Russia marching towards our borders and the borders of our main allies, which happen to be in Europe. That's our new reality. Okay, so has he got a trade deal with Europe, yes or no? Yes, he has. Tick. Now I've just touched on that. Have we got an agreement with our main allies, which is building for the future to stave off our main threat, which at the moment is Russia? Yes, he has. Tick. In terms of other deals, I know we've got a deal with India and maybe some others. Thank goodness for that. And I definitely don't want to minimise that. And oh my goodness, how much the UK benefit from that historic relationship with countries like India, which are going to be leading the world in terms of their brains, professionalism and everything else. Absolutely vital. Companies like Tata, which we think as British, they're not British, they're Indian. And oh my gosh, thank you for our Indian cousins and brothers. I'm Caribbean, English, Welsh mix, you know what I mean? But thank goodness for them. Long story short, what has Keir Starmer done in terms of the economy for our main trading partners plus other? He's done everything that he can. Tick. What have we done in terms of benefits? Now, what he tried to do, as I understand it, and you may have your own perspective, is he looked at people on benefits, which happen to be PIP, right? And he wanted it to be looked at again just to make sure that anybody who's entitled to it is getting it. That's it, just a review. And I know there's question marks about how he went about it, but I think more so than that, I think the traditional Labour MPs were just opposed to anything which on the face of it takes away benefits from those in needy categories. What he was trying to do, as I understand it, was identify who is still needy and then look at what level of need they have and what level of money it takes to actually support them. And I know that's a grey area. Now, he had a perspective on that, but I think the message going forwards was we are not going to be an easy touch on benefits. Now, I actually think that most people in the country are of that same mindset. Now, let's take it away from PIP and just say generic benefits. We don't want anybody just living a life on benefits and thinking that the government is an easy touch or taxpayers are an easy touch. So for me, the mindset and the message I got, maybe not for them, is two things. Number one, he actually had to finance the war effort so that all of us are safe, and it had to take it from somewhere, so somebody was going to lose. So it wasn't necessarily going to be the people on PIP, but it had to be looking at all areas, including PIP, to see who should not be on it and what is the level of benefits that they should be receiving in general. That's what it is for all our safety. And beyond that would be who needs to be on benefits and how can we push people or support them, however you want to look at it, so that they actually work and have that kind of work mindset, not an entitlement mindset. I appreciate that. And just to quickly touch on it, what he did with the doctors, backdating that pay, yes, it's kind of distasteful, but at the end of the day, we're in a competitive market and we either pay these people or we just watch them leave the service, and then where's the NHS going to be? Now, they were tone deaf to try and follow up that pay increase. So I think they're asking for another 20% They can go and F themselves. I can't afford it as a country. He drew the line. So for me, again, that's another tick. You entitled to your own point of view. And I'm not expecting you to agree with everything that I'm saying. I'm just giving my point of view. This last thing in terms of our standing in the world is much more grey. I think for many, what's going on in Palestine is so unpalatable, and we want peace in Palestine. Now, it is not the UK who has a primary role in stopping that conflict. We can't do it on our own, okay? So it's unrealistic to think that Keir Starmer can just unilaterally do anything. And if he did, we'll be complaining about something else, because that comes with penalties. As we've seen with Canada, when Trump just put up their tariff from 25% to 35%. We as a country would be going up against powerful lobbies to do that. So it's not that he's not going to do it, but he has to do it in a political way, because the reality is it's not about what should be, it's what can be. And every single person, I'm pretty sure, who wants us to do some absolute proactive thing in that region, including myself, doesn't want to do it at some unlimited cost to the country on something that we cannot follow through. I mean, what realistically are we going to do? We're going to put British troops in Palestine in order to try and police something? And what happens the day some of our troops get blown up? Are we in a war in that region? Who's America going to be on the side of? And everybody else? We need to make sure all our ducks are in a row in order to have a meaningful intervention in that region. And he's done that he realistically can. If we were in Europe, we would have the protection that we are not closed off from our main trading partners, and we can have conversations behind closed doors. We are out on our own and we need friends. So as the UK, not little England imperial mentality, but with a foot in realism, there's only so much we can do. We've underinvested in defence for decades, and we need some time to build it up. Even for Russia, who is our main threat, we're not in a position to do much right now. Nobody in Europe. It's going to take about 4 or 5 years for us to catch up with that, let alone going into another conflict over there. So with a realistic cap on, I cannot criticise him for what he's done in that region. Now, I've heard, and I haven't had it confirmed, that he's still selling arms to one of those countries, which I absolutely find deplorable given all circumstances. That's my point of view, and I wish he didn't do it. I can't have, as an adult, everything I want exactly the way that I would do it. I wish that he wouldn't. And we got to pressure our MPs to push that he doesn't. That is democracy. The one thing I don't think we should do, though, is get rid of Keir Starmer thinking that somebody else is going to do anything else. If you saw that interview with Nigel Farage of Reform UK, you know they being Palestine are going to get absolutely zero support from them. Now, if the Tories were in power, now, hand on heart, do you think they were going to do anything meaningful? And whatever they would have done, do you genuinely think it would be anything quicker than what a Labour or a left-centred government? And if you do think that, we can agree to disagree. I would say absolutely no chance. So with a foot in realism, I wish that we could be in a position to do something more. I don't honestly think that he realistically could, given other competing priorities of self-interest for the UK, sadly, which is his main priority, right or wrong. So I honestly don't think there's any better party out there right now, warts and all, than Labour. And I definitely don't think about that new Corbyn party is going to be any good from what I've heard, and I will do a video on them. And I think their main support is just popularist reaction, making everything that Keir Starmer's done somehow invalid from a biased standpoint. And even though Corbyn is a good man, I can remember how weak he was during Brexit. That man was absent during a time which is vitally important to this country and has seen how we're standing in the world and our wealth in the world and the struggle that we've gone through, all down to Brexit. And although I can't put blame on him, I can put weak leadership down to him since he was the head of Labour at the time. And I can't forget that quick, unless he shows himself to be something else. I think sometimes it's easy to be opinionated in opposition, but as soon as it's time to lead, you have to put your big boy or your big girl pants on and be able to step up and have a plan about what's going to happen. And that man just simply doesn't have it, nice man or not. And I do respect his values in many respects, but not as a leader. Not for me. Listen, I don't pretend to be right on everything, and I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just giving my point of view, which I'm entitled to. You're entitled to your point of view. It's just an open debate, really. My background is I've got a master's degree in economics. I've got a 2-1 in psychology, and I've also got a politics qualification, which covers elements of the UK and America. But I'm very interested in your point of view. Enjoy yourself, enjoy the summer. London's absolutely amazing. Wherever you are in the world, Dennis Stephen, I'm out.